Okay, in this video, we're going to look at a biology paper 2 theory, which was written in 2019. So we're going to look at section B. We already did section A, so in this video, we're looking at section B. So section B, the first question of question 6A. So 6A reads to say, define the term transpilation. Define the term transpilation. So transpilation, we say transpilation is the loss of water vapor through the stomata of the leaves. This is what we call transpilation. Transpilation is the loss of water vapor through the stomata of the leaves. Or if you want, you can say transpilation. This is a process by which a plant loses water through the stomata of the leaves. Okay? And then B, they are saying discuss factors that affect the rate of transpilation. Discuss factors that affect the rate of transpilation. So looking at the factors which which affects the rate of transpilation on question B. So we are saying number 1, temperature. And don't forget, on section B, we write our answers in essay form, which are supposed to be in paragraphs like the way I've written. So temperature. So how does temperature affect the rate of transpilation? So temperature, this is the degree of hotness or coldness of a substance. The higher the temperature, the higher the transpilation rate. This is because high temperature increases the kinetic energy of the water molecules, making them diffuse faster out of the leaf. So this is how temperature affects the rate of transpilation. Here again we have humidity. Humidity, this is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. The higher the humidity, the lower the transpilation rate, because higher humidity lowers the concentration gradient between the leaf and the atmosphere. Light intensity. Light intensity, this is the brightness or dimness of light. The higher the light intensity, the higher the transpilation rate, because higher light intensity causes opening of the stomata. So these are the factors which affect the rate of transpilation on question B. If you want, you can also include wind speed, because also wind speed affects the rate of transpilation. So you can also include wind speed here, or the surface area as well. Then looking at question C, so this was question B, 6 marks, explaining all those 3 things. Question C, explain the significance of transpilation to plants. Explain the significance of transpilation to plants. So significance, it is more like the importance of transpilation to plants. In other ways, why is transpilation important to plants? So let's see why transpilation is important to plants. So C, transpilation helps to cool the leaves, especially in hot conditions. It ensures that there is a continuous flow of water to the leaves for photosynthesis and to keep the cells of the leaves moist. Transpilation provides a pathway for transporting mineral salts through the plant. Transpilation releases water vapor into the air to continue the water cycle. So you can see that these are the significance of transpilation, or this is why transpilation is important to plants, because one of the reasons is that it helps the plant to cool. Okay, then apart from that, it makes sure that there is water available for photosynthesis to take place, and to make sure that the leaves, they are always moist or wet, in other words. And therefore, it also encourages the water cycle between the plant and the atmosphere. So these are the significance of transpilation. So I'm just reading these answers and also adding on where I feel like adding. So I already submitted the answers here so that we can avoid the video being long, so that it can be short, sweet, and understanding. Then we go to question 7. That was question 6. So question 7, they are saying question 7a, describe the functions of the main components of bread. 8 marks. Describe the functions of the main components of bread, which is carrying 8 marks. So the main components of bread, in other words, here they're just indirectly telling you to describe the functions of the components of bread. And the components of bread, we know that this is red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, plasma protein. So in other words, you explain the functions of plasma protein, white blood cells, which is phagocyte, lymphocyte, as well as the red blood cell. Those are the functions that I'm just explaining here. Those are the components of blood. So therefore, blood transport oxygen in the form of oxyhemoglobin from the lungs to the body cells. It transports nutrients dissolved in the plasma from the digestive system to all the cells. Blood transport metabolic waste and carbon dioxide for removal from the body via the lungs and the kidneys. Blood transport hormones to target cells from the gland. Blood regulates body temperature by spreading heat around the body. Occurs as the amount of blood flowing through the skin varies. Blood protects the body from infection by viruses and the bacteria by transporting leukocytes to areas where they are needed. Blood protects the body from losing too much blood when platelets form clots and prevents foreign materials from entering the body. As I said, when you've been told to describe the functions of the main components of the blood, you know that blood is made up of different components, which is example the red blood cells, the white blood cells, which is lymphocytes, phagocyte, as well as the plasma protein and platelets. So in other words, you just explain these functions as the main functions of the blood. Okay. Then B, they are saying explain sickle cell anemia and hemophilia as blood disorders in a human being, which is 4 marks. So they want us to explain sickle cell anemia and hemophilia as blood disorders in a human being. So describing hemophilia and sickle cell as a blood disorder, and that is true. Sickle cell and anemia, sickle cell anemia as well as hemophilia, they are blood disorders, diseases. So let's explain to see. So sickle cell anemia is an inherited disease where a person has abnormal hemoglobin. As a result, the red blood cells become sickle-shaped, especially when oxygen levels are low in the body. The disease reduces the chance the capacity of the body to transport oxygen. So this is sickle cell anemia as a blood disorder. Then what about hemophilia? Hemophilia is an inherited disease where a person bleeds for longer period than normal due to poor clotting of blood. It is caused by the absence of blood clotting factors. So this is sickle cell anemia and hemophilia as blood disorders. We move on to another question. So go to question 8. So question 8a, describe the different methods of natural propagation in plants. Describe the different methods of natural propagation in plants, which is carrying 7 marks. So let's describe the natural propagation in plants. So the natural propagation in plants are root tubers. So then the root tubers, this is a root that has become swollen because of stored food and is able to grow into a new plant, e.g. sweet potatoes and carrots. Stem tubers, this is an underground stem that has become swollen because of stored food and contains eye buds that are able to grow into new plants, e.g. Irish potatoes. So I was even giving examples here. Then comb. Comb, this is a swollen underground and vertical short stem with apical and axillary buds that can grow into new shoots, e.g. crocus sp. Bulb. A bulb is made of underground fleshy leaves growing from a short stem, e.g. garlic and onion. The fresh leaves contain food in them. Then rhizome, this is a swollen underground horizontal stem, e.g. ginger. A rhizome has adventitious roots and buds that can develop into new shoots at the nodes. Suckers, these are underground lateral branches of stems having terminal buds and adventitious roots, e.g. bananas and plantains. Runners, thorns and veins. Then these are horizontal stems growing above the ground and have adventitious roots and buds at the nodes, e.g. lawn grass, sweet potato veins. Then leaves. Leaves. Certain plants such as Blyophyrum have leaves that are swollen with stored food and have buds and adventitious roots that can develop into new plants. This is natural vegetative propagation or natural propagation in plants. So natural propagation in plants, actually it deals more like how a plant can propagate naturally without the help of any physical means or by the help of any human being in other ways, I mean. Okay, like for example, when the roots keeps a lot of food, because you know that roots, they are food storage organs, and upon them being food storage organs, that simply means that once when they keep food for a long period of time, or they keep large amount of food, therefore they become swollen and they form another plant. Okay, then we go to question B. Question B, they're saying explain the advantage and the disadvantage of vegetative propagation of plants. Explain the advantages and the disadvantages of vegetative propagation of plants, which is 5 marks. So the advantages and the disadvantages of vegetative propagation. So what you should understand is that you write the disadvantages on their own and you write the advantages on their own. That is what you need to do. So as for me, I started with the advantages. So here's the answer. The advantages of vegetative propagation include a mate is not required for offspring to be produced. Large numbers of offspring can be produced in a short time. Desirable features of parent are passed on to the offspring unchanged. It makes it possible to grow new plants of certain species even when seeds fail. Okay, so these were the advantages. So in other ways, the advantages of vegetative propagation, they are those of non-sexual reproduction in other ways, or reproduction in plants. So the advantages and the disadvantages of reproduction in plants, they are the same to the advantage and disadvantages of vegetative propagation, because vegetative propagation, it is another form or type of non-sexual reproduction which falls under it. Alright. Then here are the disadvantages of vegetative propagation, which includes undesirable features of parents are passed on to the offspring unchanged. Lack of genetic variation makes it difficult to adapt to a variety of habitats. It often leads to overcrowding and competition for resources. So these are the advantages and the disadvantages of vegetative propagation. Let's move on to another question, which is question 9. So question 9, they are saying define the term puberty to max. Define the term puberty to max. So puberty is the stage in the development when one reaches sexual maturity and becomes capable of reproducing. It is when reproductive organs become matured. So this is puberty. Then question B, describe changes that occur at puberty to both boys and girls. Describe changes that occur at puberty to both boys and girls. 8 marks. So the changes that occur at puberty to both boys and girls are development of pubic hair on the vulva, the hair in the armpit will also start appearing at puberty. The whole body glows rapidly. At puberty, once we start circulating sex hormones, sexual reproductive organs start enlarging. So these are the changes that takes place or that occurs at puberty to both boys and girls. Then C, they are saying describe 2 determinants of puberty. Describe 2 determinants of puberty, which is 2 marks. So 2 determinants of puberty, you are saying that determinant of puberty in humans are hormones and the age. Hormones, they make the body more adapted to carry out reproduction. In males, their development is influenced by the hormone called testosterone, which is secreted by the testicles. In females, their development is influenced by the hormone called estrogen, which is secreted by the ovaries. In boys, the average age to start puberty is 11 to 12 years old, and in girls, it's 10 to 11 years old. In other ways, when you have been told to say describe determinants of puberty, determinants of puberty, they are more like a requirement for one to carry out or to reach a puberty stage, which is age and the hormones. Let's look at the last question, which is question 10. Question 10 reads to say, 10A, describe the importance of the factors that make the soil fertile. Describe the importance of the factors that make the soil fertile, which is 8 marks. So factors that make soil fertile are air. It makes the soil aeration because plants cannot use nutrients if the roots have no air. Microorganisms, they are responsible for most of the nutrients released from organic matter. They decompose organic matter and releases ammonia, which is turned again into nitrate, which plants use for growth. Organic matter, it enhances soil aggregation and intact large pores, in turn allowing water infiltration. Water or moisture is embedded or absorbed by the seed and offends the tester so that it can split to release the plume and the radicle. Mineral elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, and the potassium make the soil fertile. the pH of the soil must be between 6 and 7. That is question A. Then B, explain how soil fertility can be maintained. So how can soil fertility be maintained? So methods of improving and retaining soil fertility are crop rotation, which minimizes the risk of depleting the soil of particular nutrients or water at a particular soil depth, because each crop has its own specific requirement. Tillage suppresses the growth of weeds and promotes a good cambly and policy with a stable granular structure. Lamine increases the pH, neutralizing the acidic soil and promoting clumping of soil particles, thus improving soil structure. Addition of organic, which promotes humus formation and improves the soil structure. So this is question 10. So this is how you are supposed to answer section B of Biology 2019 paper 2. Thank you for watching.